The U.S. Thunder emerged from hyperspace in a flash of blue light. The massive warship, nearly 2 kilometers long, hung against the backdrop of distant stars like a sword pointed at the heart of darkness. On the bridge, Captain James Wells stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his gray eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite the news they had received just hours ago. "All systems operational, Captain," replied Max, the ship's eye. Its voice emerged from hidden speakers, carrying a hint of human-like concern. "The quantum resonance cannon is at 89% charge. Engineering reports minimal stress on the hull from the jump." James nodded, but his mind wandered to the message that had arrived during their last faster-than-light jump. Earth's defense fleet, the proudest collection of warships humanity had ever built, had fallen. The Dark Swarm had consumed their home system, just as it had done to so many others. "Show me the recording again," he ordered, knowing it would hurt but needing to see it one more time. The main screen flickered to life. The battle for Earth played out before them. Thousands of black, insect-like ships swarmed around Earth's defenders. The human ships fought bravely, their weapons blazing with nuclear fire, but the Dark Swarm was endless. Where one alien ship fell, 10 more took its place. "Pause it," James commanded. The image froze on a frame showing the U.S. Victory, Earth's flagship, surrounded by Dark Swarm vessels. "How many worlds have they taken now, Max?" 12 confirmed civilizations have fallen to the Dark Swarm, Captain. 4 in the last solar year alone. The rate of expansion is increasing exponentially. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, each carrying the weight of what they had witnessed. The Thunder was humanity's newest and most advanced warship, but they were just one ship against an enemy that had devoured entire species. Lieutenant Tom Baker, at weapons control, broke the silence. "Sir, we're picking up a distress signal. It's not human." "Put it through," James ordered, straightening his uniform. A scratchy voice filled the bridge, speaking in broken common, the standard language of space-faring races. "This is trading vessel Blue Star, Dark Swarm approaching. Please, any ships. Help." James looked at his tactical display. The trading vessel was 3 light minutes away, limping through space with obvious engine damage. Behind it, his sensors detected the familiar energy signatures of Dark Swarm scout ships. "How many enemy vessels, Lieutenant?" 3 scouts, sir. Standard hunter-killer formation." James thought for a moment. They weren't ready to reveal themselves to the Dark Swarm yet. The quantum resonance cannon was untested in actual combat, but he couldn't ignore a call for help. That wasn't the human way. "Plot an intercept course," he ordered, "but keep our primary weapons offline. We'll use conventional arms only. No need to show our full hand yet." The Thunder's engines hummed to life, pushing the massive ship through space. As they approached, James studied the alien vessel. It was a common merchant design, used by many species for inter-system trade. Its hull showed signs of weapons fire and desperate repairs. "Sir," Max interrupted, "I've analyzed their damage patterns. The Blue Star has survived 4 separate Dark Swarm attacks. Their evasion tactics are impressive." James smiled slightly. Anyone who could survive multiple encounters with the Dark Swarm deserved respect. "And help. Broadcast on all frequencies," he commanded. "Blue Star, this is U.S. Thunder. We are moving to assist. Hold your course." The response was immediate and filled with relief. "Thunder, Blue Star grateful. We have information. Important information about the swarm." James leaned forward in his chair. Perhaps this wasn't just a rescue mission after all. But before he could respond, warning klaxons blared. "Captain," Lieutenant Baker shouted. 6 more Dark Swarm signatures just appeared. They were hiding behind the 3rd moon. "Battle stations," James ordered calmly, as red alert lights bathed the bridge in their crimson glow. "Looks like we'll be testing our weapons sooner than planned." The Thunder's massive hull plating shifted, revealing rows of point defense turrets. Against the endless black of space, Humanity's last great warship prepared for its first battle against the terror that had consumed their home. The war to save the galaxy was about to begin. Deep in the U.S. Thunder's engineering section, Dr. Martha Reed wiped sweat from her forehead as she studied the readings on her screen. The quantum resonance cannon had never been tested in actual combat, and now they were about to use it against the most dangerous enemy humanity had ever faced. "Max, run the calculations again," she said, her fingers dancing over the control panel. The ship's AI responded immediately, displaying new numbers across her screen. "Doctor, the power output is stable, but the targeting system still shows a 12% variance," Max reported. "The weapon may not achieve full penetration of dark swarm shields." Martha frowned at the data. Around her, the engineering bay hummed with energy as the massive ship prepared for battle. Through the reinforced windows, she could see the blue-white glow of the quantum core, pulsing like a captured star. "Captain Wells to engineering," the intercom crackled. "Status report." "Dr. Reed here, Captain," she responded, pressing the comm button. "The cannon is charged, but we're seeing some targeting irregularities. I wouldn't recommend a full power shot yet." Just then, the ship shook violently. The first waves of dark swarm fighters had reached them. Martha grabbed her console to stay upright as alert sirens wailed through the corridors. "We may not have a choice, Doctor," James replied, his voice steady despite the chaos. "The alien merchant ship has vital intelligence about the dark swarm. We need to keep them alive." Martha looked at her team of engineers, seeing determination in their eyes. They had all lost someone to the dark swarm. Earth was gone, along with countless other worlds. This weapon was their last hope. "Max," she called out, "what if we modify the resonance frequency? Match it to their shield harmonics." "Processing," Max responded. The AI was silent for a moment, running billions of calculations. Modification possible, but it would require manual adjustment of the core housing. In combat conditions, this would be extremely dangerous. Another blast rocked the ship. Through the internal cameras, Martha watched as point defense turrets spat fire at the incoming dark swarm fighters. The alien ships moved like angry insects, their black hulls absorbing most scanning signals. "Captain," she called, making a quick decision. "I'm going into the core chamber. We can tune the weapon to their shields, but I need to do it manually." "Absolutely not," James responded sharply. "Radiation levels in there would kill you in minutes." Martha was already pulling on a protective suit. "We have 3 minutes before their main force arrives. The suit will give me 5 minutes of protection. I can do this." There was a long pause from the bridge. Martha could hear weapons fire and tactical reports in the background. Finally, James spoke again. "Do it. But you get out of there the moment the modifications are done." "That's an order." She sealed her helmet and entered the airlock leading to the core chamber. The massive room glowed with energy, the quantum core floating in its containment field like a miniature sun. Warning signs flashed on her suit's display as radiation levels spiked. "Max, guide me through this," she said, moving carefully towards the main control panel. Accessing core controls, Max replied in her helmet. "Doctor, you'll need to adjust the harmonic resonators first. The panel is on your left." Martha worked quickly, her hands steady despite the danger. Each adjustment brought the weapon's frequency closer to the dark swarm's shield pattern. The ship continued to shake under enemy fire, but she tuned it out, focusing only on her task. 30 seconds until radiation exposure reaches critical levels, Max warned. "Almost there," Martha muttered, making the final adjustments. The core's color shifted from blue-white to a deep purple, its energy now perfectly tuned to tear through dark swarm defenses. "Modifications complete," she announced, already heading for the airlock. "Tell the captain he can fire when ready." As she stumbled out of the core chamber, Martha smiled grimly. The dark swarm thought they knew everything about human technology. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The real battle was about to begin. The U.S. Thunder moved silently through the debris field that was once the Dark Swarm attack force. Captain James Wells stood at the bridge viewport, watching as his crew helped transfer survivors from the Blue Star to their ship. The merchant vessel's hull was too damaged to continue. "Max, play back the merchant captain's information again," James ordered, turning from the viewport. A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge, showing the alien captain. The creature looked like a tall, thin human with blue-tinted skin. "Dark Swarm Queens," the merchant captain's voice explained. "They hide in Region 42. Deep space. They use special signals to control their ships." "Quantum entanglement communications," Martha added from her station. She had recovered from her radiation exposure, though the medical team still watched her closely. "That's how they coordinate their attacks so perfectly. Every ship is connected directly to the Queens." James nodded slowly. "Max, plot a course to Region 42. Lieutenant Baker, what's our weapon status?" "The quantum resonance cannon is fully operational, sir," Tom reported from Tactical. "Dr. Reed's modifications worked perfectly. We destroyed 27 Dark Swarm ships with that single shot." The bridge crew worked efficiently as the Thunder prepared to jump. They had scored their first victory, but everyone knew the real fight was just beginning. The Dark Swarm had destroyed Earth and 11 other worlds. One battle wouldn't end their reign of terror. "Jump drive ready," the helm officer announced. "Take us in," James ordered. Space bent around the Thunder as it leaped into faster-than-light travel. The ship emerged in Region 42, a vast area of space filled with dense gas clouds and dying stars. Perfect hiding place for the Dark Swarm Queens. "Multiple contacts," Tom shouted suddenly. "Dark Swarm patrol fleet, 12 ships coming around that gas giant." "Battle stations," James commanded calmly. Red alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship as crew members rushed to their posts. The Dark Swarm ships attacked immediately, moving in their characteristic swarm pattern. But this time, the Thunder was ready. Point defense turrets tracked and destroyed the smaller ships while the main guns kept the larger vessels at bay. "They're trying to surround us," Martha observed from her station. "Just like they did at Earth." "Not this time," James said firmly. "Max, activate the resonance cannon. Target their lead ship." The Thunder's main weapon powered up, its purple energy beam lancing out into space. The lead Dark Swarm ship's shields flared and failed, its hull breaking apart under the weapon's power. The remaining ships scattered, their perfect formation broken. "Sir," Tom called out, "I'm picking up some kind of signal from the destroyed ship. It's like a scream, but in quantum frequencies." Martha's fingers flew over her console. "The Queens felt that ship die. They're connected to every ship in their fleet. When we destroy one, they all feel it," James finished. "Can we track that signal back to its source?" "Already working on it," Martha replied. "The signal is bouncing between 3 different star systems. The Queens must be hiding in one of them." The remaining Dark Swarm ships regrouped and attacked again, but with less coordination than before. The Thunder's conventional weapons were enough to drive them back. Each destroyed ship sent another quantum scream echoing through space. "Got it," Martha announced triumphantly. "The signals are strongest from the Helios Nebula. That's where they're hiding." James studied the tactical display. The Helios Nebula was massive, filled with radiation and electromagnetic interference. Flying in there would be almost impossible. Fighting would be even harder. "How many ships did Earth lose in the nebula?" he asked quietly. 17, Max answered. "No human ship has ever returned from those coordinates." James straightened his uniform. "Plot a course for the Helios Nebula. If that's where the Queens are hiding, that's where we're going." The Thunder turned toward its new destination, its hull still bearing scars from the recent battle. They had learned how to hurt the Dark Swarm. Now it was time to find out if they could end their reign of terror once and for all. The hunt for the Queens had begun. Dr. Martha Reed stared at her calculations for the 5th time, hoping she was wrong. Behind her, The quantum core hummed softly, its purple glow reflecting off the engineering bay windows. The numbers didn't lie. She knew what she had to tell the captain. Captain Wells to engineering. The intercom crackled right on schedule. How are the weapon modifications coming along? Martha took a deep breath. Sir, I need to see you in person. It's important. 10 minutes later, James stood in engineering, looking at the data on Martha's screen. His face grew more serious with each passing moment. Explain it to me in simple terms, he said quietly. To kill the queens, we need to increase the quantum resonance cannon's power by 400%, Martha explained. The good news is, it's possible. The bad news is, she paused, looking around at her engineering team. The energy feedback would destroy the thunder. We wouldn't survive firing the weapon. Silence fell over the engineering bay. Even Max, the ship's AI, remained quiet as the implications sank in. How certain are you? James asked. 100%, Martha replied. I've run the numbers dozens of times. To generate enough power to reach the queens through the nebula's interference, we'd have to overload our core. The explosion would be significant. Before James could respond, the ship's alert sirens began to wail. Captain to the bridge. Tom's voice called over the intercom. Multiple dark swarm contacts approaching. James and Martha ran to the bridge, arriving just as the first enemy ships appeared on the main screen. There were dozens of them, more than they'd ever faced before. They're trying to stop us from reaching the nebula, Tom reported from his tactical station. These aren't scout ships, Stir. These are their elite hunters. The thunder shook as the first wave of enemy fire struck their shields. James took his command chair, quickly assessing the situation. Return fire, all batteries, he ordered. Max, begin evasive pattern delta. The thunder's guns roared to life, sending streams of plasma and quantum energy into the approaching swarm. Several enemy ships exploded, but more kept coming. Hull breach on deck 4, an officer shouted. Emergency containment fields holding. Martha worked at her engineering station, trying to keep the ship's systems stable. Captain, the quantum core is still charging, but these attacks are draining our power reserves. Another hit rocked the ship violently. Sparks flew from a nearby console as emergency lights flickered on. Shields at 40%, Tom reported. We can't take much more of this. James stood from his chair, his decision made. All hands, he announced shipwide. This is the captain speaking. We've discovered a way to destroy the Dark Swarm Queens, but using our weapon at full power will destroy the thunder. He paused, letting that sink in. I won't order anyone to sacrifice their life. Any crew member who wishes to leave can take the emergency shuttles. No one will think less of you. The bridge fell silent except for the sounds of battle. Then Martha spoke up from her station. I'm staying. Someone needs to monitor that core overload. Weapons control staying, Tom added firmly. One by one, every crew member on the bridge announced they would stay. Similar messages began flowing in from all decks. Not a single person requested a shuttle. James felt pride swell in his chest. This was humanity at its finest. Even facing certain death, they wouldn't back down. Very well, he said, returning to his chair. Max, plot us a course through these hunters. Martha, begin the core modifications. We have a date with some queens. The thunder turned to face the enemy fleet, its engines glowing brightly against the darkness of space. They had found their way to victory. Now they just had to pay for it. The Helios Nebula stretched before the U.S. thunder like a wall of glowing purple clouds. Lightning-like energy discharges flashed within its depths, each one powerful enough to cripple a smaller ship. The thunder's hull bore fresh scars from their battle with the hunter fleet, but they had made it. All sensors are dead, Tom reported from his tactical station. The nebula is blocking everything beyond 100 meters. Captain James Wells stood at the front of the bridge, watching the swirling gases through the main viewport. Max, can you navigate through this? Negative, Captain. The AI responded. Standard navigation systems are unreliable in these conditions. However, I have accessed ancient sailing techniques from the ship's database. We could use stellar positioning to navigate. Like old sea captains, James nodded. Do it. Martha, how's our hull holding up? The outer plating is handling the nebula's energy, but these discharges are draining our shields, she replied from engineering. We're basically flying blind and half-deaf through a thunderstorm. Suddenly, the ship rocked violently. A dark swarm fighter emerged from the purple clouds, firing its weapons before vanishing again into the chaos. They're using the nebula for cover, Tom shouted, firing the point defense guns where the enemy ship had been. They could be anywhere. More hits struck the thunder from different directions. The dark swarm ships were hiding in the nebula's clouds, striking and retreating like wolves attacking larger prey. Max, track those energy patterns, James ordered. There has to be a way to predict where they'll come from. The AI processed the data quickly. The dark swarm ships are creating small disturbances in the nebula's gas flows, adjusting sensors, now tracking movement patterns. James smiled grimly. Send the data to weapons control. Tom, fire where they're going to be, not where they are. The Thunder's guns roared to life. This time, when a dark swarm ship emerged from the clouds, it flew straight into a wall of plasma fire. The explosion briefly illuminated the surrounding gas. Hit, Tom celebrated. That's one down. Sir, Martha called from her station. These energy discharges aren't random. They're forming a pattern, like they're flowing toward something. James studied the view ahead. She was right. The lightning-like energy seemed to be moving deeper into the nebula, all flowing toward a central point. The Queens, he realized. They're using the nebula's energy to power their hive. Follow those energy flows, Max. They'll lead us right to them. The Thunder pushed forward, its hull groaning under the strain. More dark swarm ships appeared and were destroyed, but each battle drained their shields further. The nebula's purple gases grew thicker, making visibility even worse. Hull breach on Deck 7. An officer reported. Emergency teams responding. Shields failing on the port side. Another squad of fighters incoming. James remained calm despite the chaos. Stay on course. Martha, divert power from non-essential systems to the shields. Tom, keep those fighters off our back. Through the storm of energy and enemy fire, a massive shape began to emerge in the distance. At first, it looked like a particularly dark cloud, but as they got closer, its true nature became clear. By all the stars, Martha whispered. That's their hive structure. It's bigger than anything we've ever seen. The structure was organic and mechanical at the same time, like a massive insect hive made of black metal. Energy from the nebula flowed into it through tentacle-like appendages. Thousands of dark swarm ships swarmed around it like angry insects protecting their nest. Multiple Queen signatures detected, Max announced. This is their central hive, the source of their entire network. James gripped his chair tightly as more enemy ships noticed their presence. This is it, everyone. Battle stations. We're about to make history. The Thunder's weapons powered up one final time as they prepared to face the heart of the Dark Swarm Empire. The true battle was about to begin, and there would be no retreat. The U.S. Thunder faced the massive Dark Swarm hive, its battle-scarred hull gleaming in the purple light of the nebula. Thousands of enemy ships circled the structure like angry wasps, all turning to face the lone human vessel that dared to challenge their queens. Multiple hits incoming. Tom shouted from tactical as the first wave of dark swarm ships opened fire. The Thunder shook violently under the assault. Return fire, all batteries, James ordered calmly. Martha, begin power transfer to the quantum resonance cannon. Max, find us a clear shot at that hive structure. The Thunder's guns blazed, cutting through waves of smaller enemy ships. But for each one they destroyed, 3 more took its place. The massive hive structure pulsed with dark energy, directing its children in the attack. Hull breach on Deck 3. An officer reported. We're losing pressure. Emergency teams responding, Martha called out. Captain, the quantum core is at maximum capacity. If we're going to do this, it has to be soon. Another blast rocked the ship, throwing crew members against their stations. Sparks flew from damaged consoles as smoke began filling the bridge. Sir, Max reported, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the hive. The Queens they're trying to communicate. A harsh alien voice filled the bridge, speaking in broken human language. Human ship, surrender, join collective, or die. James stood from his chair, his face set with determination. This is Captain James Wells of the U.S. Thunder. We are all that remains of Earth's fleet, and we do not surrender. The Queen's response came in the form of renewed attacks. Larger Dark Swarm ships moved forward, their weapons targeting the Thunder's critical systems. Shields failing. Tom reported. Port engine is critical. Martha, James called. Status on the cannon. Ready, sir, she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. But we'll only get one shot. After that, the ship will be destroyed, James finished. I know. Max, calculate firing solution. We need a direct hit on their central chamber. The Thunder turned slowly, its damaged engines struggling against the nebula's energy storms. The hive structure filled their view screen, its black surface seeming to absorb light itself. Firing solution ready, Max announced. But Captain, the Queens are powering up some kind of energy weapon. If they hit us before we fire. Another blast struck the Thunder, this one stronger than the others. Warning klaxons blared throughout the ship as systems began to fail. Multiple hull breaches, Martha reported. We're losing power to life support. Engineering is on fire. James looked around his bridge, at the crew who had volunteered to die to save the galaxy. They had come so far, lost so much. He wouldn't let it be for nothing. All power to forward shields, he ordered. Martha, prepare to fire on my mark. Tom, give us everything we have left in the conventional weapons. Clear us a path. The Thunder's remaining guns roared one final time, blasting away the Dark Swarm ships between them and the hive. The Queen's energy weapon began to glow, preparing to destroy the human ship that had dared to challenge them. Now, Martha, fire. The quantum resonance cannon powered up, drawing energy from every system on the ship. The Thunder's lights dimmed, its engines sputtered, and its shields began to fail. But the weapon continued to charge, building to levels far beyond its safe limits. Purple energy gathered at the front of the ship, so bright it outshone the nebula itself. The Queen's weapon fired at the same moment, sending a beam of dark energy straight at the Thunder. For Earth, James shouted as Martha triggered the cannon. The two energy beams met in space, purple light against darkness, humanity's last hope against the terror that had consumed so many worlds. The Thunder's hull began to break apart under the strain, but they held their position. The final battle for the galaxy had reached its climactic moment. The quantum resonance beam from the U.S. Thunder cut through space like a purple sword, meeting the Queen's dark energy in a spectacular collision. The nebula itself seemed to pause, its swirling gases frozen in the moment of impact. Core temperature critical. Martha shouted over the sound of the ship breaking apart, hull integrity failing. James held onto his chair as the deck buckled beneath him. Hold steady. Keep the beam focused. The Thunder's enhanced weapon began to push back against the Queen's attack. Waves of energy rippled through space as the two forces clashed. On the main screen, they could see cracks appearing in the hive structure's surface. Multiple systems failing, Max reported, its artificial voice showing rare emotion. Ship breakup imminent. But Captain, the quantum resonance is reaching the Queens. Their network is destabilizing. Through the viewport, they watched as the purple energy beam finally overcame the Queen's defenses. It struck the hive structure dead center. And for a moment, everything was silent. Then the screaming began. It wasn't a physical sound, but rather a quantum shriek that echoed through every communication system. The dark swarm ships around them began to fly erratically, their perfect coordination shattered as the Queen's control wavered. "Their network is collapsing," Martha called out. "The quantum feedback is spreading through their entire fleet." The hive structure's surface cracked further, dark energy pouring from the wounds. The Queen's screams grew louder as their connection to their forces was torn apart by the Thunder's weapon. Engineering reports complete core failure in 30 seconds. Max announced, "Captain, it's been an honor." James stood on his broken bridge, watching as humanity's final victory unfolded. "The honor has been mine. To serve with this crew, to fight alongside each of you." The ship shuddered as more systems failed, but they kept firing, kept pushing, even as their own hull began to tear itself apart. A hive structure finally burst open, its black surface shattering like glass. The Queen's screams reached a crescendo, and then suddenly stopped. All around them, dark swarm ships began to explode or drift lifelessly in space. "They're gone," Martha whispered. "The Queen's. We did it." "Core breach," Max warned. 10 seconds. James looked at his crew one last time. "It has been my privilege to." The Thunder exploded in a blast of purple light that outshone every star in the nebula. The quantum resonance wave expanded outward, washing over the dead darksworn ships and racing toward the edges of known space. Hours later, on worlds across the galaxy, the surviving alien races watched as the darksworn ships above their planets suddenly lost power and fell from the sky. The quantum wave reached every corner of space, destroying the Queen's control wherever it touched. Days passed, then weeks. Ships from various species ventured out to investigate what had happened. They found the Helios Nebula forever changed, its gases now glowing with a faint purple tint. At its center, they discovered the remains of the hive structure and pieces of a human warship. Years later, on a dozen different worlds, monuments were built. They all showed the same image: a lone human ship, facing impossible odds. The stories spread across the galaxy, how a single crew had sacrificed everything to free the stars. In the rebuilt cities of Earth's former colonies, children looked up at the night sky and learned about the U.S. Thunder. They learned about Captain James Wells, Dr. Martha Reed, and all the brave crew who had given their lives to save everyone. And in the dark between the stars, where the dark swarm once ruled, ships now flew freely. Their crews would sometimes see a flash of purple in the distance, like an echo of thunder, reminding them of the price of freedom and the power of human courage. The galaxy was safe, and the Thunder's sacrifice would never be forgotten.